Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the ServiceNow and Automation Edge webinar to get most out of your ServiceNow with machine learning, AI, and cognitive. My name's Ed Markowitz, and I'll be starting off today's session, and then I will be handing it over to my colleague, Himanshu. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. All listeners will be placed on mute so that you can have a good listening experience. And we will hold questions to the end of the webinar. Please provide your questions in the box as highlighted on the right-hand side. And let's get started. So today's agenda is really about, why do you need AI-powered service desk, right? How do you take that journey from today into the future, which is more of a AI-powered service desk and the transformation of, and we'll show you a few demos, and then we will leave plenty of time for a Q&A. So with that, what are some of the reasons why you need an AI-powered service desk? Certainly, several of these are listed, and we'll go through a few of them. But the non-availability of skilled resources for high-value projects and fast response time with improved accuracy is some of the benefits that you will get from an AI-powered service desk. As we know, so the service catalog sometimes can be complicated, right? It was built by IT, but it's not only for IT, but it's also for the business users as well, who sometimes are not as comfortable. Too many clicks, not enough adoption, all the things that we experience within a complex service catalog. You also have a service request form that can be sometimes labor intensive. End users struggle sometimes also selecting out of the many categories which is the right category that they can select a service from. And also the painful experience of being locked out of your service desk. These are some of the things that a transformation to an AI-powered service desk can certainly help. When you look at from an industry point of view and the outlook, we see that there's a large number, 60 billion at the year 2020, with improved productivity by incorporating a AI-powered service management service desk. 30% of the processes will improve from a cycle time, turnaround time, and as well as an increase in leveraging the digital assistants. From a service desk transformation, one of the key aspects of service desk is to provide a good user experience. So with that, with natural language processing and the bot, users can talk more freely the way they would talk to another colleague on asking for some type of service request. Yeah. Also, with the leveraging of AI, things like automatic ticket classification and intelligent routing, and then the automatic ticket fulfillment from a ServiceNow platform could be a very powerful thing, taking the cost out of triage, right? Expediting a service desk request. Could be zero touch, could be first call resolution, but it definitely gets you closer to a more improved experience. Measure twice, cut once, leverage the cost takeout of AI service desk from $20, if you will, per ticket for offshore usage. And how do you look at the service request in your systems today to look at the candidates that can be leveraged in automation? And again, you want to leverage the virtual assistant through many different channels, could be Facebook Messenger, Skype for Business, Teams, Slack, etc., to ask queries, report issues, and launch a service request. So without further ado, let me hand this over to Himanshu, who will talk more about the service desk AI transformation. Himanshu, it's all yours. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ed, for that introduction. And now let us take a look at what an AI-powered service desk can look like and what it actually means. So when we are talking about AI or artificial intelligence, it's actually a really vast domain, and there are so many things that one can achieve with it. There are numerous applications from all industries, right from manufacturing till healthcare, from space studies to microorganism studies. So we really need to understand first that what components or what parts of AI do we really need to use, and which of those will make our service desk more efficient. So today we will be concentrating on what type of optimizations can be brought about in your service desk using artificial intelligence. So to understand how an AI powered service desk will benefit, let us first take a look at the conventional or classic scenario. There are a couple of challenges or pain points that we all are coming across in the current scenario. So let us take a look at these. We have broadly divided them into three different categories. So if we see here, the very first pinpoint or the challenge is from the service desk's user interface point of view, where your end users or employees have to go through a complex self-service catalog with all the factors that it discussed a couple of moments back. It can be something like choosing from a large charade of categories, or it can be filling lengthy request forms, whatever. The second user interface that is currently in use is calls or emails to support desk. But then there are again some challenges with those as well, where the employees or end users have to wait for a long time on the support call, or they have to send emails in a templatized form, and then you will basically get a response quicker. Once we shift from the user interface to the service desk, this layer again has its own set of challenges. It can be answers to different queries, or initial diagnosis of the ticket that has been raised, that also using only the description that they have, classifying and assigning the ticket to the best competency and support group. And this is just the beginning. After that begins the actual status tracking and communication. Now, all that being said, once the service desk does that, they have to involve the technical support, which is the third layer, to literally work on almost all the cases. And most of the times, 20% of these cases are something as simple and mundane as a password reset. But since very few people would have access to, let's take an example of your Active Directory, the technical support will have to get involved. So these are just some of the pain points that we have highlighted in the current scenario of a traditional service desk. Let us see how we can optimize it using the AI scenario. So what this does is, one, it allows you to essentially use a smart interface to raise your request. It can be an unstructured email, a chatbot used from a website or a mobile app, or even a call to the support desk. Now, once this is done, the AI assistant comes into picture. So for today's demo and webinar, what we'll be doing is we'll be taking example of Automation Edge. So this AI assistant is using Automation Edge ticket classification and assignment engine. So what does this do? So first of all, what is an AI assistant? An AI assistant is nothing but a bot which will assist you in getting your work done. It is not going to complete the work for you, but it is simply going to assist you using some smart algorithms. So what classification and assignment engine does is, based on the data, it is going to understand the context, assign it or classify it to a support group, and then it goes one step beyond, where it uses different ranking techniques to assign this ticket to the best competency available within that support group. Now, post this, there are two ways in which the path can flow. One is, let's say, the ticket that has been automatically classified, a service request or an incident, is an automation candidate. So based on that and the requirement of your organization, you can achieve a complete or partial fulfillment using an AI worker. As we discussed earlier, like an AI assistant will assist you to get some things done, AI worker will actually get that work done completely. It is a worker or a digital worker which is going to work depending on the actions or instructions given to it. So you can have complete or partial fulfillment. And the best addition here is that this will be done with a work log update. So let's say this is a partial fulfillment and the support engineer has to take over after a certain step. Then due to the updated work log in that incident or ticket, you will have the ability, or your technical support will have the ability to have an insight on the actions that have been taken on the ticket or incident so far, what all steps have been done, which type of resolution has been applied, what is the challenge so far. And once that is done, he can take over seamlessly from there without having to start from step zero. This was one of the paths that it can take. The other path which it can take is essentially being diverted to manual queue. And again, this is not just normal diversion, it would be diverted to a manual queue and the best competency available. So one scenario is post classification and assignment. The first scenario talks about automatic fulfillment, and the second one talks about manual fulfillment. But still, you will get a more efficient service desk thanks to the classification and assignment done. Now, one thing I would like to add here, a common concern which a lot of enterprises have, is what if it assigns to a wrong group? So these algorithms tend to have a concept called as prediction confidence level. So based on the quality and quantity of data using which the algorithm is built, or the model of the algorithm is built, you will be able, the algorithm will be able to give you a confidence level. So it says that I'm 95% confident of the prediction, 99, 92, whatever the number may be. And you can always define in your business logic saying, if this is the support group, anything below 95% should not be assigned to this support group. So then it can be diverted to a service desk or manual queue as per the requirement of the use case. So this actually allows you to make sure that number of tickets do not get classified into a wrong support group. So now let us see that how AI can help in increasing efficiency of your ServiceNow instance. Now that we have spoken generically of how AI can help any service desk, let us take a look at more fine-tuned examples. So when we are talking about cognitive abilities or artificial intelligence, we can broadly divide this thing into four sections when it comes to ServiceNow, or let's call this service desk intelligence. We can broadly classify it into ticket auto classification, which we have already discussed, ticket auto assignment, which again we have already discussed, sentiment analysis, and chatbots. Now, sentiment analysis, as the name suggests, analyzes the sentiment of something that has been written. This is generally used on social platforms. So let's say your enterprise is active on a social platform like Twitter, and your users heavily engage by giving feedback on those social platforms. Now, what sentiment analysis does is it essentially classifies complaints versus compliments, where if it finds a negative sentiment on, let's say, in a tweet, it is going to pick up that tweet, automatically go ahead, create a ticket in ServiceNow, and send a mail to a person responsible. If it's a compliment, you can as well ignore it, or you can simply send it to your customer support officer for survey purposes or any other such purposes. Next thing which we want to talk about is chatbot. Now, chatbot is being promoted as a new channel for end users that essentially removes the tedious navigations of catalogs, and you can get things done in a casual chat. Now, these chatbots are powered by natural language understanding. What natural language understanding means is that the computer or the machines aren't clever enough to understand what a human being might type if they don't find a specific input, or if they don't find input as desired. So, as human beings, you and me have the ability to ignore grammatical errors or syntactical errors when someone is speaking, and we can still understand the context of the context of the conversation. But that is not possible for machines to do it naturally. This is where natural language understanding comes into picture, where it allows the machine to understand the context irrespective of the typos that you might have made, or grammatical mistakes, syntactical mistakes. The machine doesn't care about it. when it is being powered by natural language understanding. So if you are using, let's say, Automation Edge, then Python and R plugins come inbuilt into Process Studio. What this means is that, let's say, most of the enterprises, including yours, would have started some or other small project in machine learning. They can be Python or R scripts. So instead of getting an RPA tool and then writing everything from a scratch, you can simply assimilate these scripts into your existing RPA tools, and then using those, you can make your existing workflow smarter. We will see one of the slides on how this can be done in one of the later slides. So just to take an overview of the architecture or the process flow of how automation is achieved in request fulfillment, let's say a service request or an incident is created from ServiceNow that is assigned to an automation queue. So whenever you create a service request form or a service request definition, you have to assign it for the first time to automation queue so that we mark it as an automation candidate. Once there is any request in automation queue, your automation engine will then talk with different target systems. They can be packaged applications like Salesforce, cloud systems like Amazon EC2, Azure, Google Cloud Compute, storage like Google Drive, Box, OneDrive, databases like Oracle, MS SQL, Postgre, MySQL, or even network like NOC operations can be achieved. And once it talks with the target system and fulfills your request, either partially or completely, it is going to go back to your service desk and going to update your ticket with the resolution or work log, whichever is required. Now, let us take a look at how we can make or address pain points of your end users. So, first user scenario which we will discuss is a simple email. So, in this case, you can see that this gentleman by the name Mark Platter says, "Hello, since I'm dealing with a lot of client data and proposals through email, I'm having a challenge with my current inbox capacity, requesting you to increase my mailbox size to 10 GB." Now, as you can see, Mark isn't bothered about, or Mark isn't worried about writing something in a template, copying that template from somewhere, following that, and then sending that mail. Mark has simply written a casual email, a normal business email like you and I would write, and he sent it to support desk. Now, what will happen is this mail will be passed using cognitive abilities along with understanding of the enterprise jargon and relevant auxiliary data. What this means is that your enterprises will have their domain specific jargons. Supply chain might have its own jargons, banking and finance will have its own, insurance will have its own, and so on. So, and using the model that is built, it will start understanding your enterprise jargon and the relevant auxiliary data. And using this, it will anyways go ahead and automatically create a ticket for you. Whereas user is simply raising a service request by sending a normal email. So if we want to visualize as to how this will work, let's say that user sends an email to raise an issue. The automation scheduler reads this email. Once this email is read, data pre-processing is done. So what is data pre-processing? The machine, when it is trying to decipher something, or in this case, classify your mail into a ticket, it doesn't care about the nuances of the language. It doesn't care if it is grammatically correct, like A and articles like A and D. It doesn't care if the word is in which tense. It could be run, ran, running. So all of these things are clean. So run, ran, and running will all be treated as the word run. A and D, these things will be removed. So this is called as things like stop word removal or trimming, which is done on that data. And once that is done, it is then handed over to the classification engine, which then predicts the business service and support group as per required. Now, as we discussed earlier, it will declare a prediction confidence level. If it is above the required benchmark value, it will create an incident with predicted service, business service, and support group. If not, it will still create the incident and assign it to a service disk request or a service desk, or define or a default queue in your service desk as per requirement. So the second scenario which we can discuss is chat. Now, as we discussed a couple of slides back, chatbot is becoming a standard channel or a newer channel for your end users, where even if you get locked out of service desk, one of the scenarios which it discussed in the earlier slides, you still have access to your chat application. So once you're authenticated on that chat application, you can request for a password reset, access for a shared folder on the fly, maybe ask for a leave balance, or and get all such things done. So again, this can be done casually over a chat, where you don't really have to worry about what is the type of data I have to enter, how do I enter such things. The chatbot takes care of that, where the backend AI system analyzes the contents and creates a respective service request on behalf for the user. We'll be showing you a live demo of this today. So the chatbot actually allows the users to seamlessly contact support and get resolution on the fly. Now, just to get a view of how a chatbot can work, and let's visualize how this can actually be put in architectural terms. Let's say that you have a chat application. It could be a web-based chatbot or existing chat applications, etc. They will talk to a virtual assistant connector. The virtual assistant connector will then talk with conversational platforms. So, what are conversational platforms? Conversational platforms are those platforms provided by leading vendors like Google's Dialogflow, Facebook's Wit.ai, IBM Watson, Microsoft Louis, etc., which have a large vocabulary of words stored with them, and these allow us to harness their power for natural language understanding, which we discussed earlier. So, using their power of natural language understanding, the virtual assistant connector predicts, or rather it understands what the user is trying to say. Based on that, it will then talk with your target system using one of the approaches which you can see. So it can talk using RPA, which is UI automation in absence of APIs, or in case you don't want to use APIs. Rapid API integration, ready bots if you have an option to directly integrate with those systems, or machine learning, which is in this case like classifying a ticket. Using this, it will go ahead and talk with the target system. It can be an Active Directory, your HR management software, your ERP suite, ITSM, etc. These can be IT systems and business systems. And once you get the resolution, it is going to go back right to your chat application and give you a resolution there. And this is just the beginning of what you can do, right? So reporting an issues, asking for a leave balance, updating employee records, requesting shared access, or even triggering a shipment, requesting a service. This is just the tip of iceberg. We can do whatever, we can achieve all those things via a chatbot, whichever we are currently doing using a service desk. So we can call this as a cognitive service management for enterprises. So there can the example of ready plugins. This is an example of ready plugins. So for instance, you can have ready plugins for various different service management and applications like ServiceNow, Salesforce, SAP, Oracle EBS, or collaboration tools like Office 365, Microsoft Teams, Exchange, monitoring systems like Cisco, cybersecurity like Splunk, operating systems or public cloud like Microsoft Azure, or even legacy systems like AS400, databases like MS SQL, and the list goes on. So, higher the amount of ready plugins you are going to get, easier and faster your integration with these target systems is going to be. So, let us take a look at what can be the automation candidates and how the solution can look like. So let's take a look at how we can embed machine learning in your existing workflows, as we discussed a couple of slides back. So you can get input from various channels. It can be web, social media, transactions, or internal data. So based on that, you will have to get that data and then you prepare the data. So preparation of data is just the synonym for pre-processing of the data, which we discussed earlier. Based on that, you can engineer features. So engineering features is a typical machine learning term, which to put it in simple words means that you will be telling the algorithm that in case you come across this type of value, this is the type of prediction or solution that you have to give up. So that is called as engineer these features. Once this is done, then we go to the model building step. So building the model is one of the most important parts in any machine learning orchestration step. So what is a model? A model is nothing but a reference that the algorithm or the workflow will use when it is going to intelligently do some things. So for instance, if you are going to classify tickets, the model is built using the past data of tickets that have been resolved, and then the model will internally have some mappings and ladders which the algorithm can refer to and help you in your workflow. So this is typically done in three steps. The first step is train the model, where we give a training data and run the algorithm on it. Once that is done, we tune the model, which means we understand that there is some flaws and we need to tweak the algorithms, which is where we fine tune or tune the model. And finally, we test the model. Now, this is the iterative phase. And once you are happy with the model you have, you can simply deploy that model in your existing workflows. It can be RPA workflow, IT automation workflow, data handling workflow. All these things can be made intelligent and smarter using this. So a simple example here can be a language detection bot. So based on the input which you are getting, the language detection bot will intelligently understand that, hey, this is this language, this is the input I've got is in German, and then it will go ahead and send back a resolution in German language if desired so. So this type of scenarios make your existing workflows really smart. So now that we have seen how you can make the workflow smarter, let us understand what automation candidates can be there. So these are spread across departments, where you have your traditional IT use cases like incidents, status checks, or service requests like snapshot of a VM, VPN access, password resets, or even FAQs like how to configure corporate email on mobile or pull information or reports. Similarly, moving beyond IT, you then have HR use cases. So the HR use cases can be similar, where you will again have incidents created for grievances raised by the employees, or service requests created for compensation requests or document requests, FAQs for leave balance or queries. And then in admin, you'll have similar service requests like conference room request, conference call request, floor or door access, incidents reporting to facility or infra, or queries or information regarding extension or contact details of some employee. And the fact which we need to really highlight here is that these are automation candidates. So what this means is they are not just going to go through a chatbot, a ticket is created and the task is done, but these candidates can actually be automated to the extent that they will go to the backend system, get things done, and then send back a response. So if we are to take example of a compensation request, it can go back to your backend applications, your payroll applications, your HR applications, check whatever the grievance has been raised. And if there is an error, you can simply send a mail back saying, hey, you are right, there is some issue in the compensation. The arrears will be sent to you maybe in 8 working days or 5 working days, whatever the compliance may be. So end-to-end automation using modern channels makes this a really intuitive proposal. So if we are talking about password reset, which is a really common and most repetitive task, this is how the solution can look like essentially. Where let's assume that this gentleman has forgot his mail. He's going to launch the forgot password link or a cross link from a login page. Once that is done, he will enter the login ID and email. This user information is then validated in ServiceNow. Once the information validation goes through green checks, or it completes successful validation, it will then go to a password reset module. What the password reset module does is it once again asks the user to make sure or verify his identity. Now this can be done by asking him to enter an OTP sent over his mobile, or RSA key entered from his token, or probably answering security questions. Once this is done, he is then allowed to enter a new password, which is then done by using a ready bot like reset AD password. And once that is done, a password change email notification is then sent to this user on his registered email ID. So there are three stages of security which we are looking here, where first one is you have to verify your login ID and email. Then again you have to verify yourself, and finally you also get a mail. So if worst case scenario your email or your password gets resetted without your knowledge, you will immediately get a mail and you can take action on it instantly. So this is an example of how an HR bot can look like, a web-based chatbot, where you can see some different scenarios that we have shown here. So it says, "Hi, I'm your HR virtual assistant. How can I help you?" And then the user asks, "Can you provide me with company's leave policy?" The bot says, "Sure, this is the link to a company's leave policy." Similarly, it asks whether the casual leaves can be carried forward or what is the incentive and such type of things. So instead of your HR staff sitting on the desks and answering these mundane repetitive queries, what you can do is you can actually introduce these bots to take care of those. So to basically understand the value creation that we are doing here, uh, basically there would we can divide this into six parts. One is simplifying of a catalog, which is as we saw different channels through which we can do this. Second is ease of request creation, where you can easily create a request using the simplified catalog or through a mail or chatbot. It's now embedded with artificial intelligence, which means automatic ticket classification or automatic resolution becomes possible. You can also do approvals in automation, where automation can wait till a certain approval or rejection takes place. Correct assignments are done thanks to the intelligent algorithms that will take care of these assignments. And finally, you will get high speed IT, which means faster and much more efficient IT as compared to your existing desk. So, just to sum up the benefits, you will basically get a good user experience, a better service desk, and a much higher saving in value indirectly. So, to just quickly touch base upon this, in case of user experience, the natural language communication, use of existing comfort tools, and immediate reply and resolution is going to help increase your user satisfaction level. In case of service desk, will now be allowed to concentrate on high value areas with improved productivity and efficiency and a faster turnaround time. And in terms of value savings or financial savings, at least 30% of productivity increased and at least 50% of business users wait time decreased, plus a low maintenance equals to a lot of indirect savings in terms of financial segment as well. So before getting into the demo part, just a quick reminder, all of the demo that we are doing today will be done powered by Automation Edge. Automation Edge is an automation platform for the digital enterprise which goes beyond RPA, where you can get multiple technologies related to cognitive abilities, IT automation, RPA, or data handling as a part of single platform, which gives you a rapid API integration, ready bots architecture, and a drag and drop automation for the ease of your automation. And finally, a reminder, we have an F3 RPA bot offer running, which stands for free, feature rich, and fast, which is available to you to use with ServiceNow. We have an app present in ServiceNow which allows you to seamlessly integrate with it, and then you can you can start or kickstart your automation in your enterprise using the F3 RPA bot. So we encourage you to go to the website and check out what this offer is. Now let us take a look at a quick chatbot demo. So what we'll be doing in this demo is through a chatbot, I'll be requesting for installation of a software. Then the bot will take the request, it will take the IP and the necessary details. Based on that, it will create a request in Automation Edge, it will create an incident in ServiceNow. It will fulfill that request, and what it will do is it will finally close the ticket as well. So let us go ahead and check the demo. So this is the virtual machine. Let us just take a look at the IP ones as we are going to be using it. It says 1051 2825, and if I go to start menu, you can see that the application Notepad++ is not available here. Just to re-verify that, we are going to go here and perform a search, and you can see that the Notepad++ application is not available here. So let me just minimize this and let me go to the chatbot. So I am going to go to my browser. This is where my web-based chatbot is present. Let me click on it. It says, hello, I am Mia, which means my intelligent assistant, your virtual IT engineer. Please choose with the following options or type your query. I am going to go ahead and instead of choosing one of these options, I'm going to go ahead and type a query. So I'll just say install software. So the bot says, sure, I'll help you to install software. Please help me with your system's IP address. So the IP address which we saw just now is the same one we are going to enter, which was 1051.28.25. So let me just hit enter. So now based on that, it says, thanks, I can help you with installation of these softwares. Please select one. So now I can type the software I want, but in this case, now let us go ahead and use these buttons. So let's go ahead and say Notepad++. So it says, please wait while we work on your request. Now this takes about a minute to get completed. So let me go on and log into Automation Edge. So I'm going to say sign in. I'm going to go to my requests tab, and you can see that a new instance has been created and it says execution has started. So as I said, this will take around half a minute to a minute for this installation to get completed. So let us just wait till this gets completed. In the meanwhile, in ServiceNow, we have also opened the incidents tab, and we have opened all incidents here, and you can see that the entire list of incidents with its description and everything is visible here. So I'll go back and I'll refresh this, and you can see that it is now complete. And if I expand this, you can see that connected to target machine successfully, software check complete, software not installed, software deployment complete, requested software successfully installed. But since we are doing this through ServiceNow as well, I'm going to check for this ID. So let me just copy this, the last three digits 048. Let me hit a search for that. And you can see that the incident is open here. It says in short description, it says that the software has been successfully installed with user or on IP so and so. The state is now resolved. This is the incident number which we checked, and you can see the other details here as well. So just to make sure that this has actually happened, I'm going to go back to this machine, the same machine we saw, 1051.28.25. Go to start menu, and you can see that Notepad++ has been successfully installed. And just to verify the same from here, let us go here and type Notepad. Okay. Oh, so I'm just going to go to that page again so that it is refreshed. And if I press here, you can see that Notepad++ is installed. And if I even type it here, you'll be able to see that it is there. So since the earlier window list wasn't refreshed, we just reopened it to show that the app has actually been installed. So you saw that using the chatbot as the end user and by simply entering a few things, I could go to a service desk, create a ticket, automatically fulfill it by talking to the target system. I closed the request by doing a work log update. You can see different states here. And then I also closed the ticket on ServiceNow by just entering things onto your chatbot. So that is the power of what AI powered service desk or AI transformed service desk can bring about in your organization. And this is just a beginning or a short demo. And you can do a lot more things like automatic ticket classification, assignment, etc. Using AI powered service desk. So now that we have seen, now that we have spoken about what an AI transformed service desk is and seen a quick demo, let us now open this session to question and answers. Let your questions flow in. Okay, so one is the step where it asked for the IP address of the device. Does the end user have to look up IP address, or is there intelligence where it can find it automatically? So in this case, for the demo which we have done, we have to manually enter the IP address. But in case the IP address is stored, the bot will have intelligence to find the IP address automatically. But for that, the infrastructure needs to be in place where the bot can understand what is the IP address based on where the request is coming from. So assuming that the infrastructure is connected end to end and the bot has access to the network information, the bot can intelligently pick up the IP address in the request as well. Okay. So the next question which we have is, does your chatbot support human handoff? So assuming that by human handoff you mean handover to a human support engineer in case of a failure in understanding, the answer is yes. So for instance, Automation Edge supports LiveZilla. This application itself supports human handoff functionality. So what happens is that based on successful or unsuccessful rendering of whatever is happening, the bot will attempt to understand maybe twice or thrice, and then based on the communication or based on the request, it will simply hand it over to a human engineer to get it resolved. Um, So yes, so the next is, can I use this AI functionality in our existing Blue Prism infrastructure? So the answer to this is yes. We can basically make sure that you can integrate this AI functionality into your existing infrastructure, and we can either do the automatic fulfillment part, and Blue Prism can initiate a request, or vice versa, where we do the automatic classification and all those parts, and Blue Prism does the fulfillment part. But that being said, while we can do this, Blue Prism also needs to be capable of accepting requests, and this is a two-way type of communication. So your Blue Prism implementation partner should be willing to allow us to send requests to them. That is the thing that needs to be noted. Okay, so one more interesting question we have is, what about SAM, software asset management? Now, since you have shown a demo of installing a software, can this also detect the number of licenses left, and uh, okay, and can it inform this to someone? Right. So the answer to this is yes. You can talk with your SAM using either APIs or UI automation, whichever approach is available, and then using that, uh, you will be able to basically, once the request is fulfilled upon approval or rejection, you will be able to maybe send a mail to your IT infrastructure manager saying, hey, this action has been completed and now you have 3 out of 5 premium licenses left, or those type of things can definitely be achieved. Okay, so the next question is about ServiceNow and Office 365. So the question is, as per my understanding, this is all about ServiceNow product. Now, Office 365, how is it connected to ServiceNow? How chatbot works with Office 365? Does it work if not having a DC? Okay, so see, what we are doing is, this is not necessarily about just ServiceNow. The backend fulfillment, it will talk with those using connectors, right? So right now, the demo which we have shown is, we have integrated, or we are making sure that everything is flowing through ServiceNow. But that is just the ticketing part or the service desk part. You can still use one of our ready connectors, which will go ahead and talk to Office 365, and it will get things done. And in case you want to do this specific process without ServiceNow, that can be done as well, where you can get trigger this request completely from Automation Edge. It will go on, talk with your Office 365 instance, get your action done, come back and give the resolution. So this can be used with any of the target system, and you can connect with these target systems either using APIs if you have access to those, or you can always do them using UI automation as well. So this can definitely be done. Yeah. So the next question which we have is about 35 to 40% of our service desk tickets are received through an email. Can automation age AI bot help? So definitely, I think these things which we where we talked about the AI bot for classification and assignment definitely comes into picture here, where it will save a lot of your time while that is being done. And once all of these things are done, you can actually essentially save a lot of time. Also, if these are automation candidates, you'll save even more time using automation as a end service. So I think we are already on top of the hour, and we'll definitely get back to you with the rest of questions or the answers to the rest of the questions over an email. So thank you so much, and back to you, Ed.
Okay, Himanshu, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. And thanks everyone for joining today's session. You can certainly reach out to us at info@automationedge.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. And thanks again for joining the webinar. Have a great morning, afternoon, and evening. Bye for now.